Welcome to Vendor Trash. Does the title refer to my opinions, my drawing skills, or both? That's for you to decide. Fair warning, this is one of those videos without a great structure and it winds up being a lot of rambling. Sorry, but not that sorry. In 2018, Riot Games and League of Legends created a fictional K-pop group called KDA, referencing kill-death assist ratios, and debuted it to the world at their World Championship using augmented reality. It wasn't the first time they had created a musical group out of their characters, but it was definitely the biggest. The group consisted of skins of 4 of their legends, Ari, Akali, Evelynn, and Kaisa, voiced by 2 members of the K-pop group Idol and 2 American singers. At the same time, they released an animated music video of their one song, Pop Stars, which blew the heck up online. And it was a legitimately really good music video, and a pretty dang good song to boot. I certainly enjoyed it a great deal, and I had only played about 1 hour of League of Legends in my life, and so had very little attachment to the IP. Even all these years later, I'm not really any further invested in it. I've really only seen disparate clips of Arcane, yet despite that, it totally grasped me, and I'm sure many others around the world. 2 years later, they followed up this success by releasing 5 more songs: The Baddest, More, Villain, Drum Go Dumb, and I'll Show You, with varying credits among them. Notably, More included a guest appearance from a 5th member, Seraphine, who was pitched as being a dedicated fangirl of the group. Again, these were pretty phenomenal releases all around. More and Villain had great music videos, and I enjoyed the songs, along with The Baddest, though the last 2 didn't really do it for me. And it seems that's where they've left the concept since then. A bit of a shame, but it's also probably best they didn't milk it beyond its prime. And I distinctly remember thinking during the Pop Stars era, man, I wish WoW had done that. So I posed the question, does Warcraft need a K-pop group? Well, if they want to sell some sexy transmog on the shop, they sure do. I jest, of course. Well, mostly. Anyway, even at the inception of the idea, I knew there were holes in it. If we wanted to do a girl group, for example, then the 3 biggest female characters at the time were Sylvanas, Jaina, and Tyrande, and even in an alternate reality, I cannot see them all vibing together. And, you know, K-pop isn't really a Warcraft thing. Alternatively, I thought that Horde leaders could have made for a great band. Sylvanas as the singer, Karin on drums, Vol'jin on bass, Thrall and Lortha. Wait a minute. I'm just describing ETC with more important characters, aren't I? And that's the thing, we often forget it now, but at one point in time, Warcraft did have its own music group. Elite Tauren Chieftain was a metal band made of Blizzard employees, most notably Samwise Didier and Mike Morhaime, with their first contribution to the actual games being Power of the Horde, a rock song that played during the credits of Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne, where Arthas is seen rocking out. The band semi-jokingly changed its names several times thereafter to align with Warcraft games. First, they shifted to 10th level Tauren Chieftain for Warcraft 3, then level 60 Elite Tauren Chieftain for Vanilla, level 70 Elite Tauren Chieftain for the Burning Crusade, and level 80 Elite Tauren Chieftain for Wrath, and eventually, the artists formerly known as level 80 Elite Tauren Chieftain. Over the years, they released a few other songs, most notably I Am Murloc and Rogues Do It From Behind. The real-life group's last public performance was at BlizzCon 2014, where Metallica closed the show for them. In-universe, ETC had quite a few appearances early on in the game's life. Every 4 hours, they will perform Power of the Horde at the World's End Tavern in Shadroth City. They also appear every night at 8 p.m. server time to do a show at the Grim Guzzler in Blackrock Depths, and performed at the Caverns of Time for WoW anniversary events 15 through 19. And when Darkmoon Island is accessible, they will perform at the top of every hour. And anyone who's been to Silvermoon City has probably noticed the band atop one of the city's balconies just chilling out, though they are the objective of a Children's Week quest as well. The band consists of 5 members, one for each Horde race as of the Burning Crusade. Samuro, the Orc vocalist, Bergkrist, the Undead lead guitarist, Signicious, the Blood Elf rhythm guitarist, Mykill, the Troll bassist, and Chief Thunderskins, the Tauren drummer. Notably, this Samuro is not the Samuro that appears during the Rexark campaign of the Frozen Throne and in Heroes of the Storm. Another fun detail is that Bergkrist's guitar, the Arcanite Ripper, was available as a drop from the Wrath pre-patch event and has since been added to the Black Market auction house, and that Sig's guitar, the Sunlute of the Phoenix King, is also on the Black Market auction house. Interestingly, another band would make their debut on Darkmoon Island come Legion, though they literally perform underground, in a cave every hour on the half hour. The Forsaken death metal band Blightbore, though they also performed in the Caverns of Time anniversary events. Their members are Delvin Styx, the vocalist, John Graves, the guitarist, Cagehead, the bassist, and Fiddlesticks, the crawling hands that serve as the drummer. I'm not as big on the music, but the show is a pretty exciting one, I have to give them that. Participating in the event, which is essentially defending the band from a death metal night, can reward 4 cage helms, a toy that temporarily has you performing in the likeness of Delvin, and Necromedes, the death resonator, a sweet guitar. Pretty cool, though it looks like their relevance was pretty much one and done. Circling back to ETC, they would get one minor and one very significant role in Blizzard games thereafter. The minor role was as a neutral legendary card in Hearthstone's Classic set, where he would give both players one of 3 random power chord cards: I Am Murloc, Rogues Do It, and Power of the Horde. It was not considered very competitive as his stats were slightly under par for his cost, and it gave both players a spell card. The larger role was the inclusion of the ETC mascot character into Heroes of the Storm as a tank. Notably, this does not seem to be the drummer Chief Thunderskins, but an entirely separate character as evidenced by the presence of guitars and the lack of drums. A manifestation of the group's pure rock energy, if you will, which is awesome. His abilities include a power slide that will stun targets he runs into, face melt, an AoE knockback around himself, guitar solo, a self-sustaining hot he can use fairly often, mosh pit, an AoE channeled stun around himself, and stage dive, a targeted leap which damages and slows enemies hit. He was part of the game's original roster, and pretty fun to play. His Mosh Pit ultimate was always great to combine with your allies' abilities in team fights. Since I brought us down this rabbit hole, there were other examples of lyrical songs being performed in WoW. The first was the Lament of the Highborn, performed by Sylvanas when players bring her the locket gifted to her by Ilaria. Banshees will appear behind her and sing as well. And of course, there's the Sylvanas' music box toy, which will play the song, obtainable from the Shadowmourne chest. Though, like most of the items from that, it's bind on use, so you can just buy it on the auction house. I know this quest and song get a lot of praise, but I was never a big fan of their implementation. I'm sorry, but I just cannot buy Sylvanas, under any circumstances, publicly singing like this. It was a nice, sentimental moment, sure, but definitely something that only really flew because of the time. That is a time where faction leaders did little and said almost nothing. She also performs a bit of a remix of the song called Repent of the Highborn in the 11-7 quests, as part of her process for ushering the lost souls of the Maw back to Oribos. This is slightly more believable for her character. The much better example was Daughter of the Sea from the Jaina Warbringer short. The context we're later given is that it's a sea shanty that Kultirans literally sing to remember how awful of a person she is. So already a great message. Though the Warbringer almost certainly involves a degree of symbolism and surrealism to it, it's a lot more believable that Jaina may be singing this song about herself to herself while she's by herself at the ruins of Theramore. It seems in her guilt, she sort of accepted the song and opted to embrace it and give it a new meaning. The song is a lot more engaging and presented in a much better way, both through the short and through other characters in the game singing bits of it. And that's pretty much it for lyrical songs with actual audio being performed in-game or directly surrounding it. I guess you could include some Hearthstone trailers, but that's starting to go beyond the scope of this video. Let's get back to K-pop, shall we? Because Blizzard actually has done K-pop stuff before. At BlizzCon 2023, we got an Overwatch 2 collaboration with the K-pop group Les Seraphim, including a music video for the song Perfect Night that was 50% the actual band and 50% Overwatch girls in new skins, specifically Tracer, Diva, Kiriko, Brigitte, and Sombra, clearly trying to recreate a bit of the KDA magic. And I thought it was okay-ish. The song was a bit too mellow to really generate hype, and the mixed media trailer didn't help. But Les Seraphim did perform at BlizzCon, and I got to see them as they went up an escalator. Yeah, I had to catch a flight home, and it's not like I knew anything about them anyway, but it was still noteworthy to me. And I would be absolutely remiss if I weren't to cover the hit 2025 animated film, K-pop Demon Hunters, which, among many other performers, featured partial involvement from the group twice. The movie was great, and the songs were golden. But the film's release also coincided quite closely with patch 11.2, which teased the existence of a third Demon Hunter spec, Devourer. Before the midnight reveal officially showed it off, there were plenty of memes about the third spec being K-pop instead, which would have been the most hilarious way ever to introduce bards to the game. On that note, maybe we should be talking about bards. They've long been one of the most hypothesized and desired classes to add to the game. Currently, I'd say the only more logical and in-demand class concept remaining is Tinker, which I care far more about. And since classes only come once every 3 or so expansions now, either one could be quite a wait. Both, even longer. That being said, Bard is one of those classic D&D roles that hasn't made it in yet. The closest we actually got was the 2008 April Fool's hero class reveal of the Bard, which would be played using a special peripheral that, well, you know. There's been a slight revival in interest in the class in recent years. As bards historically play a support role in games, the introduction of a support spec via augmentation has made them feel more viable than ever. Furthermore, there was a, I believe fake, survey about reception to future class concepts that popularized the idea of a bard class that was tied to the Radiant Song being released by Azeroth, which would actually give the class a Warcraft spin that it otherwise may have lacked. Honestly, with Azeroth's awakening likely happening in The Last Titan, that could be the time to introduce bards. But, you know, Ulduar and technology, great opportunity for tinkers. But yeah, if we were ever to get a bard class, I think that would be the time to really lean in to the music group concept again. Put some real meat on the bones, as it were. So then, back to the question initially posed by this video. Do we need a K-pop group in Warcraft? Well, obviously not. K-pop has a lot going for it, but it's ultimately a hard fit for Warcraft. And I don't even necessarily think we need a persistent, dedicated group tied to the property, like ETC once sort of was. But I would love if lyrical music was used a lot more than it currently is. There's tons of potential there that hasn't really been all that tapped into. I mean, the soundtrack music is always amazing, and I wouldn't want to take away from that, but I think there's room for both. And given how well received instances like Daughter of the Sea were, I hope Blizz is continually considering the possibilities available to them. For this week's drawing, I went with the absolutely rocking ETC, a character who does not canonically exist in Warcraft, but do you think this heavy metal customer would let something like canonicity stop him? I didn't think so. But yeah, he was actually pretty fun to draw. I love that pretty much just for aesthetics, he has 3 freaking guitars. Well, maybe some of them are bass, I don't know music stuff. But I do know that rocking a pink goatee is freaking sick, man. And I drew him in the Caverns of Time within Tanaris, both because that's one of the few locations where you can see Elite Tauren Chieftain performing, and because it's one of the very few locations radical enough to keep up with this totally awesome bull. Thank you for watching, and until next week, rock on!